Hi, I'm Matt McGovern, and this is Inside the Pocket with Coach Gov. Today I'm going to talk to you about how recognizing coverage can help to accelerate a quarterback's decision-making process. Having the ability to decide whether or not a coverage is zone or man can really help a quarterback before the ball is snapped. From there, a quarterback has to determine what coverage it is, what type of zone coverage, or even what type of man coverage. So I'm going to walk you through a checklist that quarterbacks can utilize at the line of scrimmage to help give them an advantage in determining which coverage they're looking at. Once you know the coverage you're looking at, you can decide who your best target is based on the play and the routes that you have. So let's take a look at the coverage recognition checklist. First, we're going to check center field with our eyes, and then look slightly to the left and the right. Second, we're going to check the depth of the corners based on what we call the hard deck, which I'll explain in a minute. Are the corners sitting above the hard deck or below the hard deck? And lastly, the eyes of the defensive backs, primarily the corners, but also the safeties. Are their eyes in the backfield on the quarterback, or are they on the man lined up in front of them in their respective area? In a cover 2, you'll find 2 deep safeties sitting far above the hard deck. That usually is going to leave you traditionally 5 underneath defenders, including both corners, sitting below the hard deck with eyes inside. Cover 0 would refer to 0 defenders deep. Usually this is where you're getting a lot of pressure coming and everybody remaining is locked onto a man. In this case, both safeties are down below the hard deck as well as both corners on the outsides, everybody having their eyes on their man. Having the ability to recognize coverage before the ball is snapped to determine what coverage it might be, and specifically if it's man or zone, helps us to determine which receiver is our primary target and then what our progression will be from there. For the first play, let's take a look at this defense and utilize our checklist to help us determine what coverage it is. First, we want to check center field. As you can see, there's not only 1 but 2 defenders sitting far above the hard deck. That's 2 safeties. Next, we want to look to our left and right at the depth of the corners. You can see they're both also sitting now below the hard deck. So that's going to trigger us to realize it's probably cover 2 and zone coverage. The last thing we want to check for is the eyes of these defenders, specifically the corners, to really help us. You'll see at this point you've got eyes in from both corners looking in the backfield. Now that should pretty much confirm that we are in cover 2. Let's let the play run through and see what we're in. Exactly what it is. Cover 2, both safeties are responsible for deep halves. The corners are responsible for flat unless there's no immediate threat, which they gain depth. With that, Isaiah Jones from LaSalle College High School makes a great read, recognizing that the flat defender in this case, or curled flat defender, which is this linebacker, is going to be out of phase, leaving his receiver to out-leverage him on the route. And that's exactly what you see. That's great recognition of zone coverage and making the correct read and correct decision based on that coverage. Let's use our checklist here. First, we check in center field. Nobody there. Now let's get our vision going to the corners on both sides. 1, 2, both sitting below the hard deck. Continue to scan back across and you'll find safety, safety. So now we have all 4 of our defensive backs down below the hard deck. Again, taking a look at their eyes, and you will notice that everybody's eyes are locked in on their man. This corner has tight end, this safety has back in the backfield, this safety has the slot, and lastly that corner has the wide out. So we're thinking this is likely man coverage. Let's watch the play and see what happens. Isaiah Jones, recognizing man coverage, he's able to get the ball out as soon as his receiver sticks his foot into his route. Take a look. And that is how you defeat man coverage. Again. Thanks for tuning in to Inside the Pocket with Coach Gov. See you next week.